Hey Watch Fam, welcome to the channel. Thank you for clicking on the video. Today we are going to be discussing a beautiful watch by Seiko. This is the Seiko Prospex GMT diver watch that was released by Seiko in the summer of 2023. So a relatively new watch and followed the traditional fall summer colors that Omega and a couple of other large brands did. This is a limited edition done in just 4,000 pieces and is a pretty exceptional looking watch. This is part of the Seiko Save the Ocean edition, and it's one of 3 colors released in the Prospex GMT line. This particular reference is the SPB385. Before we get started, quick wrist check. I'm wearing my Omega Planet Ocean. This is the original one. If you're a fan of the channel, I've been talking about this one for a while, and I'm pretty excited to be able to add this to my collection a few months ago. And I'll be doing a review, not necessarily a review, but talking a little bit about my experience so far and why I ultimately was on a hunt for this watch for a long time. Enough of that. Let's jump into the review on the Seiko Prospex GMT Save the Ocean Limited Edition.
We ballin', collecting the Trinity, going back, throw away the receipt. Jocular culture, perpetual calendar, ultra thin for me. Collecting like Meta, give me a gold and green Daytona Rollie. I put on this elite. Hey, if it's on me, it's something elite. If you make green down from H. Moses and Chief.
I want to talk a little bit about why this particular Seiko is so significant for the brand. For starters, Seiko has done a couple different reinterpretations of the iconic diver, and this is the reinterpretation of the 1968 Seiko Prospex diver. And again, there's been several different versions. I actually owned one back in the day. However, this is the first time that the Prospex automatic divers have come with a GMT function, and that was really exciting to me. I think that's really exciting for a lot of Seiko fans. This Save the Ocean limited edition GMT, this one particular model commemorates the 110th year anniversary of Seiko watchmaking, so that is really impressive feat. Seiko has been in the game for 110 years, and Seiko does not specify how much or what percentage this is, but it is nice to know that a small portion of the proceeds for anybody who's buying this particular model, the Save the Ocean edition, does support Seiko's Save the Ocean campaign, and that is Seiko's marine conservation efforts. So a small percentage of the proceeds will go to help Seiko in their fight to bring awareness to global warming and protect our ocean. This particular watch and this particular reference is limited to 4,000 units. So while 4,000 is hardly collectible, I imagine Seiko will sell a lot of the black and green GMTs at $1,500. That's only $500 more than a Jack & Mason that's using a Citizen Miyota movement, which I don't have anything against Jack & Mason. The Streamliner, I think it's a straddle timer, does look like a pretty cool watch. I would love to get hands-on with one. So if you're watching this video, Jack & Mason, you can feel free to send me one for a review. But at $1,500 and $1,700, this is still significantly less than the Longines Zulu Time, which is just over 3,000, and those are not divers. So this kind of stands in a category right now all of its own. And I really do appreciate the fact that Seiko chose to be a diver first. And what I mean by that is a lot of the diver GMTs in the market usually replace the traditional dive bezel with a GMT bezel to get that additional ability to track multiple time zones. I actually prefer that Seiko kept the dive bezel. One of the reasons I got rid of my Manta SkyQuest, I thought the bezel was a little bit too busy in addition to the GMT numbers on the Rehawk dial, and I thought it was just a little bit much. This really keeps it a really clean aesthetic and allow you to still benefit from the GMT functionality. The Prospex GMT collection marks the first time that a GMT functionality has been added to a Seiko dive watch. So this is for sure going to be a significant disruptor at this particular price point. So we're going to spend some time talking about the case, and I really do like this case. The case work on the SPB385 is immaculately finished, but this is a significant case upgrade to my old SPB079. I actually owned a Prospex diver a few years back. Mine's had some little bit of modding to it, but you can definitely tell that Seiko has listened to the feedback, and I actually enjoy where we get to see Grand Seiko and Seiko's design language merge, and I think this is a really great example of those two universes colliding. The case is a little thicker than the SPB385 at 12.9 millimeters thick, but still well under what I consider to be a thin diver. And my mark for that is 13 millimeters. So this is just right under that. I think this is the perfect size. As you can see from the case dimension, this for a GMT diver wears exceptionally well. We get Grand Seiko-like finishing on the case band and the lug flanks. So you get some really great detailing and high gloss here that almost mimics Zaratsu finishing, but it's a high polish done in what Seiko call is super hard coating, and this really does help protect against scratches. For a reference point, I've worn my Prospex GMT almost every day for the last couple weeks, and it is holding up really well against scratches in comparison. I did a video on the early days of this channel. One of my favorite Grand Seikos that I sold was the SPB385, and one of the reasons I sold it, it was a little bit chunkier from a case design perspective. However, it did scratch relatively easy. I think I scratched the lugs on that within 2 to 3 minutes of wearing it. So it is nice to see that, you know, even after continuous wear for a couple weeks, this is really holding up nice. So when I measured the case diameter is about 41.5 millimeters. And so if you include the bezel, that's where you're going to get the 42 millimeters, which is what Seiko has on their site. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, this case wears incredibly well on my 7.25 wrist. I am going to definitely feature a lot of different wrist shots, as I think that is one of the highlights when you're looking at divers. The dimensions on this particular model is perfect. So as I said, I have a 7.25 inch wrist, and just based off the lug dimensions of this, I would actually recommend it for a wrist as small as 6.25 inches. I haven't worn it a lot on the bracelet. I've primarily had it on the NATO. I switched to the bracelet for this video. I actually might keep it on the bracelet for a little while. Again, I would recommend this for a wrist as small as 6.25 inches, and that is largely due to a very well managed lug to lug length of about 48.6 millimeters. Seiko also rewards us with drilled lug holes. This is a really, really great call as it comes with additional NATO straps. So I do love when watch brands are thoughtful about, you know, how they want their watches to be used. Seiko clearly intended for this watch to be changed and worn on a variety of different straps. And this particular model comes on the amazing NATO strap to save the ocean. And I actually think this strap is amazing. 20 millimeters between the lugs, so finding additional straps are going to be super easy. Flipping the watch over, we see the Prospex logo that I really enjoy. I actually quite enjoy that Seiko did not go with a see-through case back to keep the case thinness down and still allow us to get 200 meters of water resistance. We get all the features. We get all these features plus 200 meters of water resistance. According to Seiko, the Prospex GMT meets all the ISO standards and is perfectly suitable for scuba diving. That, of course, is useless to me, as the only thing I will be diving into is into a bottle of Woodford Reserve later on this evening. So underneath the hood of the SPB385 is the Seiko Caliber 6R54. For all my in-house nerds, it's hard to beat Seiko's in-house capabilities, particularly at this price point. They just dominate this price range, in my opinion. Seiko still remains one of the few watch companies in the world that have fully integrated in-house watch manufacturing. So they manufacture everything from their quartz crystals, their sapphire crystals, etc. If it's Seiko, it is made by Seiko. So being able to deliver this in a package at $1,700 is even more impressive. The 6R54 is part of Seiko's high-performance 6R series calibers and is essentially a modified 6R35 with a GMT function with the additional power reserve. We get a more modern 72 hours on this one, and which gives you about 3 days between winding. So if you have a decent sized collection, you don't feel the burden to wear it every day and have to worry about resetting the time. The movement is also something that's very unique, and it's both manual wound and automatic wound. I love that Seiko added a manual winding complication in addition to the automatic rotor. I love that you have both type of winding systems, particularly for a guy like me to have a lot of watches. It's great to know that if I don't put this one on the winder, that I can pick it up and never, or if it is on the winder, I never have to worry about overwinding. At Seiko, according to them, it is not possible to overwind this watch. The movement beats at 21,600 beats per hour, and the accuracy rating is between plus 25 and minus 15 seconds a day. This is probably where the watch falls a bit short to, I think, some of the competition. Again, to get a completely in-house watch, in-house movement, bracelet and everything at this price point is amazing. Mine's, fortunately, is keeping great time like most Seikos that I own. Mine's is about minus 5 seconds a day, and it's been keeping time really, really well in a variety of positions. I would not let that particular fact scare you. The movement is also using Seiko's proprietary dia shock system. The balance springs is suspended and protected from shocks. According to Seiko, the dial is a 3-dimensional press pattern in ice blue. The color and pattern are inspired by the majestic nature of the polar glaciers, and you can definitely see the detail and the look that they were going for. When I first picked up the watch, it immediately just reminded me of ice glaciers, so they nailed that particular aesthetic. Whether or not you're a climate activist, this is a beautiful timepiece to add to the collection, and you can feel good about doing a small part for the environment, but most largely really just treating yourself to a new badass watch, because this watch is really, really dope. The ice blue dial has dark blue printed minute markers and a traditional blued 24-hour indicator, which I think looks amazing, and unfortunately right now you won't be able to see it, so we'll get it in another shot. The GMT hand is also done in the same blue, giving the dial beautiful contrast, and I think this just looks really great. Another small attention to detail that Seiko picked up on this watch. We have a combination of circular and baton hour markers filled with Seiko's LumiBrite. I was not that impressed with the Lum and filled my previous Seiko diver shined a bit brighter. The Seiko was outperformed by the 4 watches that I chose here, which is interesting because I do feel that Seiko's, one of their claims to fame is how great their Lum is executed and applied. At 12 o'clock, we have the double shield for 12, and right below that, we get the Seiko and the Prospex logo. If I was to complain, I could do without the X. However, Seiko has to delineate their massive catalog somehow, so I guess I can get over it. Lastly, we get the traditional luxury 3-line diver text. I usually hate date windows at 4:30. This is probably the best one that I've seen executed. Seiko made the decision not to frame the date window, and so this does allow the date window to almost disappear. As I was looking at the shots for this video, I forgot it was there several times. I do wish that they could have went just a little bit further and gave us a date wheel that matched the color of the dial. That would have literally been perfect and elevated this watch to almost a perfect standing, at least for me. The GMT hand is beautifully blued with LumiBrite filled tips. The way it is designed allows the tip to extend all the way to the GMT rehaut, but the triangle is short and stumpy and gives the illusion that is shorter than a minute hand. I love the small attention to detail. There's been some 24-hour GMT watches that I've used, and either the GMT hand is really long and it looks a little bit off balance, or is really short and then it hides behind the hour hand. That additional extended blue tip that we get to see here is a really great call out and really great design choice by Seiko. Last, and the thing that probably drew me to this watch more, as I said, I owned a Prospex diver before, and I wasn't a big fan of the hands that it came with. Seiko made the decision to give us the same hands that they use on the Marine Master, and I think these are much more improved than my older Prospex diver. I love the hour hand and the more pronounced minute hand. It's a little bit thicker, and I think it just gives the watch a bit more presence. I'm not sure what Seiko calls the tip of the second hand, but I love this particular tip. If you watch the channel, you know I'm a sucker for a really well executed lollipop hand. And while this is not a lollipop, under Lum, it does give that lollipop look. I love this blue and white combination. I think it's a badass combination, and it looks like a lollipop, so I'm getting the best of both worlds. So the bezel was a surprising treat here as well. I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that this is the first time Seiko have used a ceramic bezel on one of the Prospex divers. I do know that they're using it on the Grand Seiko line, but I don't think I've seen it on the Prospex line. I would say that this reinterpretation with the ceramic diver really just elevates the watch. The bezel is a beautifully executed blue-gray ceramic, uni-directional, 100% made in Japan, and the bezel action is probably the smoothest that I've experienced and I've heard. If I can compare it, it's like the Cadillac of dive bezels. I mean, it is almost silent, but just silky, silky smooth. A lot different from any other Seiko dive watch that I've had in the past. And just for comparison purposes, I'm going to show you a couple different dive bezels here. So this is the Tudor 925S Black Bay 58. And then this is the, this watch is almost 20 years old, the original PO bezel. So as you can see, this bezel is very well done. It is a little loose, so I don't know how much pressure. It doesn't take a lot of force to get it moving. However, from my understanding, when you're diving, that is less of a concern because the water pressure will keep the bezel tight. So as a collector, I've heard, just reading the forums, there's always quite a bit of hate about the bracelets in the Seiko and Grand Seiko line from the watch community. While I still think this bracelet falls a little bit short from what we're seeing from some of the bigger brands like Omega and Rolex. I think they fall a little bit short here, but I do appreciate that Seiko made some pretty significant improvements to the bracelet. So the Prospex diver line features Seiko's new 3-link slim profile bracelet system, which is really, really great. It uses standard push pins for the sizing. I didn't have a really difficult time sizing this, which was enjoyable. And I was able to get my perfect size relatively easy. Seiko introduced a new tri-fold push button release clasp. I still think parts of the elements, I don't know what it is. I don't want to say flimsy. It just doesn't feel as substantial as some of the other clasps, but I will tell you, this upgrade is nice. It is definitely a stronger, better finished clasp than what we used in the past. And I like that you get twin triggers plus the folding buckle. So it does have a little bit nicer of a look. Think about, I kind of compare it to the Oris clasp, which again is a significant upgrade from where it was. Good job, Seiko, listening to some of the feedback. It looks great on the watch. There's also a dive-in extension that I'm not going to undo because it's a little bit pain, but this dive-in extension is one of the nicer ones. It does not accidentally come undone like the dive-in system does on the PO bracelet. So as I had mentioned earlier, the Save the Ocean edition comes with this really well executed recycled plastic NATO strap. So this NATO strap is made out of 100% recycled plastic and looks amazing on this watch. I am probably going to butcher the name, but the woven, this is done in the traditional Japanese woven pattern. I think it's Seichu braiding technique, and it is done in a gradated gray, and the gray is suggested to represent glacial ice. So as you can see, this pairs extremely nicely. I love the way that gray and blue matches each other. The strap is super soft, no stretchy or flexibility to it, but you don't need it. You get a floating keeper here, and you get the Seiko diving logo with Seiko on the keeper you're going to see. So really tastefully done by Seiko. Is the strap worth an additional $200 by itself? Absolutely not. But I've seen, Omega sell their NATO straps for a couple $100. So I think that Seiko did enough with the packaging, the NATO strap, the dial color, and the bezel color to warrant a limited edition, and charge a little bit of a premium to own it. So in short, I've actually been very surprised how much I've enjoyed wearing this watch, since I've had it in the collection. I've worn it almost every day for a couple of weeks, and I've gotten quite a few compliments on it. I don't think the pictures online really did it justice. I don't know what I was expecting. The bezel actually looks a lot more black online, and I think in the right light, this is probably the best representation. It is definitely a bluish gray. So as always, watch fam, thank you for clicking on my video for the Seiko SPB385. I am going to be doing a video on this watch. It's probably not going to be a review as this watch has been reviewed. Just going to be my experiences and why I purchased it. I think it'd be cool to shoot this alongside the Speedmaster. Thank you for clicking. Thank you for watching my video. Check me out on IG. I will see you all soon.